whoever they are, I'm gonna be judged by some mustached, hatless, hood-wearing, statue-posing, castle-dwelling, ticket-giving picnic!
Whenever you look back at games from your childhood, most of them are bound to be platformers, with the obvious choices being games like Mario, Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. But over the years, the appeal of making new platformers started to die down, with Mario being the only consistent IP to stand tall throughout the years. But back in 2013 though, Gears for Breakfast decided it was time to step into the ring with their own game called A Hat in Time. Being a new company, what they did was the fairly popular option at the time and started up a Kickstarter on May 29th, and within 2 days the $30,000 goal was actually hit. And then after adding a few more extension goals, they ended up raising almost 10 times the original target. It's insane to see people jump on the idea that quickly, but I think it was well deserved this time compared to other games like Mighty No. 9. I'm really glad I wasn't a Mega Man fan because Christ, that game is an insult. So after a few years in development, A Hat in Time was released out of beta in October of 2017, and a year later I finally got around to playing it, and you know what? I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it that much that I decided to replay the game a couple of months later and see how I feel about it now. So with that out of the way, A Hat in Time is a platformer about a girl trying to make her way home. The game starts off with Hat Girl, yes that's her name, waking up for a new exciting day in a massive spaceship. All on her own. With no parents. How is she able to fly this thing? She's a child. Well, after running around and abusing the Roomba for a while, you'll end up hearing someone knock at the window, where you'll find someone from the Mafia has come to collect a fee as you're within their space, so you do the right thing and ignore them. But the Mafia, having the brain the size of a pea, decides to smash through the glass, causing you to fall out of your ship along with all your time relics, scattering them across 4 main locations. And yeah, the game just starts from there. I mean, compared to Super Mario 64, this has more plot behind it, and it is definitely a bit ridiculous, but I love how simple-minded the Mafia are. I mean, judge it by all means, but if you saw a man floating in space from the Mafia, are you going to let him in? No, I didn't think so. So with Hat Girl falling to her impending doom, the game begins properly, and you start off in the first location. The idea of the first level is to let the player get grips to the controls, and within a few minutes you'll already have the best grips with it. It's a simple platformer, meaning you can jump, you can run, you can hit things with an umbrella, and you can slide and jump as well. After heading down the street, you'll soon discover that this has got to be one of the prettiest platformers that's made in recent years. It's just a really nice blend between games like Wind Waker and a rather in-depth version of something like Super Mario Sunshine. The NPCs are up to something, you can interact with the Mafia around town, and best of all, you can play patty cake with one of them and then get punched in the face. If that's not a good game mechanic, I don't know what is. Don't get me wrong though, both games are amazing in their own way, but blending the two together ends up being a perfect mix, especially for the nostalgia vibe, because God, this game feels like a GameCube game. So after a while you'll meet a girl called Mustache Girl. Yeah, they went all out with the names for these characters. And you'll follow her for a while where she'll tell you about the first time relic located in town. So obviously what you'll want to do is go and immediately grab it, but hang on. Before we rush off ahead, why not explore the environment for a little bit? I'd definitely say it's worth it. Like any old platform, you'll have collectibles to find throughout the game, like the basic stuff, which is this green pond, and these can be exchanged to unlock other things like levels throughout the game, but also they can be used to buy badges from, that thing. And these will give Hat Girl all sorts of abilities. There's some more useful ones like grabbing ponds and hearts from a distance, or stopping you from taking full damage. Or if you're really hardcore, you could make this the Dark Souls of platformers and have everything kill you in one hit. Or you could be like me and actually want to enjoy the game, but yeah, you do you. But that's not all, you'll also find these yarn balls throughout the game as well. And these yarn balls are used to create new hats for Hat Girl. Besides just being a fashion statement, these hats actually have various abilities to them. There's a sprint hat that does exactly what you'd expect, a brewing hat that allows you to brew up some explosives, an ice hat that turns you into a statue which is more useful than you think, helping you fling yourself across the map, a dweller's mask that lets you see into another reality for a short period period of time, and then finally if you find enough yarn in the game you'll unlock the time stop hat, which again does what you'd expect. There's actually a benefit to finding more collectibles in the game which are called relics, but these don't become important until later on, so carrying on with the main objective, upon reaching the first time relic you'll meet one of the Mafia folk who refuses to give you back the timepiece. So what do? I mean, you're a little girl, so there's not much you can do, but you can do what every girl dreams of, and that's beating the shit out of a Mafia person with an umbrella. Upon killing him and receiving his timepiece, you'll be greeted with an animation which is once again similar to games like Super Mario 64, with the camera panning out and taking you back to the home world. However, now you'll have a way to travel back to the world by interacting with these conveniently placed telescopes, where you'll see different levels available for you to play around with some being locked off depending on the items you have at that point, but thankfully this will only happen a couple of times. Upon returning back to Mafia Town, you'll find the girl you spoke to earlier who's currently in the grasp of some Mafia ruffians, and you'll do the right thing and attempt to save her, by doing what every little girl does in this day and age, beating the crap out of more people. And this is where you'll encounter the first mini-boss of the game. It's a pretty standard boss fight, it's like the second level in, so I'm not going to be that harsh on it. It's actually rather important though towards the main story, as upon saving her you'll end up becoming best friends and attempt to take down the Mafia once and for all and save the town. So after she gives you some disturbing ideas, you'll eventually make your way towards the Mafia's HQ and take down the mob boss with one of the best soundtracks I have ever heard. And that goes for all the bosses in this game. Each brings their own charm and appeal to the table while also being very easy at times. What's great though is that they're definitely complemented with some of the soundtracks that go with them, especially the Snatcher, because oh boy, that's a good one. But if you feel like it's too easy, there's always that one hit KO badge. Just saying, it's, you know, optional. But talking about the music overall, it's just brilliant all around. I could easily put this game on one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard, but that's a video for another time. The boss fights are rather fun themselves, having 2 stages towards the fight, and again, it's in a sequence so it's not that challenging. The only issue I had with the first boss fight though is that the hitboxes sometime on the Mafia board are a bit inconsistent, and you can get yourself hurt while trying to jump up, but besides that I had no other issues in the game. But that's not all for the story. Upon destroying the boss you'll receive a timepiece, where Mustache Girl will then snatch it from you and accidentally break it. Upon breaking it, you'll discover that the relics control time itself instead of being some fancy egg watch. So does that mean the Hat Kid's the Time Lord? And the home hub itself is the TARDIS? I wonder if her umbrella is Sonic. Anyway, she'll get this crazy idea of wiping out everyone who's been banned in existence, which would break several laws of time, and also just be plain dickish. So Hat Girl does the right thing and says no, which is amusing because you just beat the shit out of a bunch of Mafia people earlier. But upon hearing this, she'll end up breaking the friendship between you two and then stealing half your pawns. Yeah, what a bitch. So once you're done with all of this, you should have enough time relics to unlock another room within the spaceship, similar to other games, meaning you can choose to continue doing levels in Mafia Town until you hit a certain point when you can't do another task, or carry on with Hat Girl's adventure leading you towards the end of the game. In the total of the base game, there's only 4 zones available with various tasks and a finale at the end. The first world is Mafia Town, then there's the Battle of the Birds in Dead Bird Studio, the contract for your soul in the Subcon Forest, and then finally you'll hit the ropes in the Alpine skyline. And while it does sound rather short, the variety in all of these levels actually make them stand out and feel unique, except for the skyline. As for the rest though, you could scare the locals in Mafia Town, starring a detective in the conductor's movie while figuring out who murdered the employee, whilst helping the Penguin DJ Grizz perform a parade in hopes to winning the annual Bird Movie Award, or attempt to rescue your soul by doing the Snatcher's contracts and defeating a possessed toilet. Right. There is a lot of stuff that's going to happen in that forest, and some of it gets rather weird and dark, but I think it's definitely worth seeing for yourself, so I'll leave the rest in the mist. But upon clearing some more mist, the final chapter of the game is the Alpine skyline, and compared to the other chapters in the game, this one's kind of free roam. Emphasis on the word kind of. Instead of having different scenarios in a specific order, you'll be given the option to traverse all throughout the skyline with the ability of getting every single time relic in one playthrough. But it's not what I'd regard a proper free roam level. Each time relic is split off into different zones, which all are definitely different in variety, but as for what you have to do to get the relic, it's pretty basic. You're just going across a linear route with a couple of obstacles throughout the level. I mean, it's fine, but for the final chapter in the base game, it's rather dull. Don't get me wrong though, the design of each area is actually really nice and they're actually fantastic. I love the variety that the skyline has to offer in theming, but it just feels like this level is a mix of concepts that never got put into a full chapter. Take the Twilight for example, I absolutely love this section. Out of the 4 zones you go to, this is definitely the one I feel like has the most heart and effort put into it. Maybe I'm looking a bit too far into this, but it definitely feels like this chapter was more of a last minute design. Not to say it's not fun though, the music itself and the variety is definitely nice, but it's lacking when compared to the first 3 worlds. I wouldn't say any of the chapters in this game are awful though, but the Skylines is definitely my least favourite. With every world though, there is also some rifts that come with it. You'll have a total of 2 blue rifts and 1 pink rift. The blue rift you'll get just from unlocking a certain amount of levels in the game, but the Pink Rift has a bit more challenge behind it. If you go around the game and find all the collectibles, you'll find these items called relics. These are basically statues you put into the hub world, but upon completing one of these relics fully, you'll unlock a little pink rift for one of the worlds. When going into these pink rifts, you'll end up finding out a bit about the character that it's based on, while also finding another time relic. To unlock the story though behind the character in that level, you have to find all the pictures, and that can range from 5 to 9, but there's no real incentive to do so besides getting that little story, so you can still get the time relic without it. But don't worry, you can replay these by just clicking them on the hub area. To find them though, you have to find a little orb in the game. You'll find a picture that will tell you where to go, but they're not really that helpful all the time, and I had to look up a walkthrough for only one of them, which is embarrassing because it was the most obvious one out of the bunch. But once you get enough time relics, you'll have an unexpected guest return to the ship, as you then get a mini section of playing as Mustache Girl for some reason. Yeah, I never really understood why this was an interactive section. All you do is go to the vault, which is up a ladder, and then steal some relics. There's nothing really to do in this. I would have preferred a whole level as her, as it would have been rather interesting, but all it is to bring a segue onto the final chapter of the game, where you'll enter the world that Mustache Girl has created with the time relics, which looks like a copy of what you'd expect from Bowser. Once you enter the level though, you'll notice a massive line of everybody you've met throughout the game waiting to be judged and determined whether they've been good or bad. So she's kind of like Santa in this world, but instead of giving the bad people coal, you're just wiped from existence. So to do everyone a favour, you'll end up making your way through the most convoluted hallway I've ever seen to stop her. But in doing so, you get the most heartwarming moment in the game, where everybody you've met throughout the game stands by your side and tells her to get lost. Yeah, that sounded better in my head. So with all those lovely remarks to, you know, telling a little girl to get lost, and these are coming from adults, she'll retaliate as most little children do, have a tantrum and then cause a massive boss fight. With this boss fight though, it's quite interesting as she's all over the place with various different attack patterns, which is to be expected as it's the final boss of the game. You'll also get some help from various people throughout the boss fight, such as the conductor on a giant ball, the snatcher throwing stuff in to help you, and then right at the end everyone will sacrifice themselves to give you more health. And as cheesy as this was, I actually felt a little sad when I watched the conductor die to help save the fight. It might just be that the conductor's my favourite character in the game, but that one just hit home for me. I wouldn't say this is the best fight in the game, as nothing will pass a demon-possessed toilet, but it's such a fun ending and the game itself ends on a heartwarming moment. I'm not going to show or say what it was, I'd rather you all see it for yourselves, but there's one last thing I want to discuss before we wrap this up. Recently, Gears of Wreck was released their first ever DLC named Seal the Deal, which adds a new chapter, a bunch of lovely challenges that will make you question your sanity, and an extra surprise in the attic at the end. But out of all of this, I just want to talk about the chapter because I'm pretty awful with the contracts and I haven't got very far into it. So Seal the Deal adds a new chapter which brings you up to a cruise led by the most adorable seals you'll ever see in a video game.
Are we ready to sail?
We hope you have a great time. Welcome to the cruise, miss.
But for as cute as these seals are, this chapter is unfortunately rather underwhelming. I love the levels this chapter has to offer, but there's only 3 main levels. Of course there's a couple of rift levels, but that's it. I feel there's a lot of wasted potential with this chapter. Don't get me wrong though, these levels that are included are enjoyable, especially the second and third act, as they have new mechanics that weren't used in the main game previously. But my problem was that it was just over before I could really get invested into it. Now it's not uncommon for developers to add a new chapter that's short. It's DLC, it happens a lot, and A Hat in Time offers more than some companies, but I would have rather waited for a fully complete chapter later on down the line than just 3 acts that are rather short. But if we're going to end this on a positive note, the seals are rather adorable and they do make it worthwhile.
I hurt myself. Will you take me to the captain, please? Excuse me. No running by the pool, please and thanks.
So yeah, that's A Hat in Time, an absolutely fantastic platform, and if you haven't tried it yet, you should pick it up. It's on PC, PS4, Xbox, and it's coming to Switch fairly soon, so you have no reason not to give it a go. But I just want to say to everybody so far, thank you all so much for watching, thank you for making the end of this year absolutely brilliant for me, but most of all, I hope you all have a fantastic new year and I hope you had a brilliant winter holidays. My name is Sir Crackerbowl, and thank you so much for watching. Have a good new year. Goodbye.